Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times, this Sunday, February 14, 2021. For today's editorial, hate crimes increasingly target Asians in America. The COVID-19 pandemic is apparently not the only malady gripping the United States these days. There is also hate. The U.S. media recently reported an alarming increase of hate crimes committed against Asians and Asian Americans. These reports follow nearly a year's worth of news about Black Lives Matter protests against the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, two of the many African Americans killed by law enforcers. Earlier this year, America with the rest of the world was also shocked by protesters storming the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to disrupt the certification of its presidential elections. They were successful, but only for a short while. Now the immediate past U.S. President Donald Trump is on trial after his second impeachment. Not a few are also blaming Mr. Trump for the increase in hate crimes. By referring to COVID-19 as the China or Wuhan virus, the former president may have made Asians and Asian Americans the target of violence as well as bigotry and xenophobia. Russell Jung, chairman of the Asian American Studies Department at San Francisco State University, told USA Today, "When President Trump began and insisted on using the term China virus, we saw that hate speech really led to hate violence." He added, "That sort of political rhetoric and that sort of anti-Asian climate has continued to this day." Jung created a tracker to monitor hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, or AAPI. His website, Stop AAPI Hate, recorded some 2,500 discrimination cases across the United States from March to August 2020. USA Today reported recently that the figure had risen to 2,808 by year-end. Other groups tracking those hate crimes corroborate the trend. The AAPI website said the most common type of discrimination was verbal harassment and name-calling, 70.6% of the reports. Physical assault, the fourth most common type, represented 8.7% of the reported incidents. The victims varied from children to the elderly. The plurality of those reporting the incidents were ethnically Chinese, 40.4%, and those of Filipino ethnicity, 7.6%. The same USA Today story mentioned a Filipino-American, 61-year-old Noel Quintana, who suffered facial lacerations after he was attacked on the New York City subway by someone wielding a box cutter. There is worse. Earlier in January, an 84-year-old Thai living in San Francisco died after he was assaulted by someone who earlier shouted, "Go back to China!" About the Trump trial, in fairness to Mr. Trump, he did make at least one public statement appealing for the safety of Asians and Pacific Islanders, but that was obviously too little. Also, it would be wrong to assign all the blame on the former president. Discrimination against Asians in America dates back to when Chinese immigrants were recruited to work on the U.S. railroads. And who can forget the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II? German Americans and other citizens descended from European countries that fought the United States did not suffer similar persecution. Still, that does not excuse Mr. Trump from stoking hate. He may be on trial for inciting an insurrection, but we hope that the U.S. Senate finds him guilty for symbolic reasons. That may not happen, of course. As local politicians say, impeachment is a numbers game. For now, the Democrats do not seem to have the numbers needed to convict. But we still hope that U.S. senators will vote not based on loyalty to one man, but on moral principles and democratic values. As mentioned, perpetrating hate is not among the articles of impeachment. And even if Mr. Trump lost, the majority of the 74 million Americans who voted for him in 2020 still cling to lies, not only about the US elections, but also about the pandemic and its economic impact. We recognize that US President Joseph Biden is rolling back many of his predecessors' policies. By voting guilty, the U.S. Senate reinforces the signal that America can transcend party politics and bring back decency. We hope America heals soon, not only from COVID-19, but also from moral decay. And that's the editorial for Sunday, February 14, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print. Subscribe to our digital edition or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.